Commander Alice Wright stood at the viewport of the United Earth Alliance vessel, Horizon, watching as the massive space station came into view. Nexus Prime, headquarters of the Galactic Council, looked like a giant metal flower blooming against the backdrop of stars. This was humanity's big moment, first official contact with the wider galactic community. "Nervous?" asked Kevin Phillips, the mission's chief science officer, as he joined her at the window. Alice smoothed down her blue uniform. "A little. 6 months of preparation, and I still feel underprepared." "You'll do fine," Kevin said, adjusting his eye glasses. "Just remember what the briefing said. These aliens value calmness and clear communication." Frank Miller, their military liaison, approached with his typical straight-backed posture. "Station Control just granted us docking permission. They're sending over their security protocols now." He frowned at his tablet. "Strange. They're extremely concerned about what we bring aboard, especially liquids." Alice raised an eyebrow. "Religious reasons?" "Doesn't say. But they've requested we undergo something called hydro-scanning before entering the main chambers." The Horizon docked with a gentle bump. Alice gathered her team of 12 humans, the first to officially represent Earth to the galactic community. Previous contacts had been brief, mostly automated messages and a few short video conversations that led to this invitation. "Remember," Alice said to her team, "we represent all of humanity today. Best behavior, everyone." The airlock doors opened to reveal 4 tall, purple-skinned aliens with large, silvery eyes. Each wore what looked like environmental suits with extra layers around their hands and faces. "Greetings, humans of Earth," said the tallest one, voice translated through a small device on its chest. "I am Protocol Officer Mev Lorne. Welcome to Nexus Prime. Please follow security procedures with care." What followed was the most thorough security check Alice had ever experienced. Each human was scanned not once, but 3 times. The aliens seemed particularly interested in their water bottles. "Is there a problem with our drinking water?" Alice asked as an alien held her standard-issue bottle up to a scanning light. Mev Lorne's silver eyes widened slightly. "You drink this substance?" "Yes. Humans need water regularly." The security team exchanged glances that Alice couldn't interpret. After a long pause, Mev Lorne said, "Understood. You may keep them, but please secure caps tightly and inform us before opening." The group was led through gleaming corridors into a large, circular chamber. Representatives from at least 15 different species stood in groups around the room. Some looked almost human-like, while others resembled nothing Alice had seen before. Floating gas clouds contained in transparent shells, crystalline beings that clicked and shimmed as they moved, and one species that appeared to be animate plants. A hush fell over the room as the humans entered. Alice noticed several aliens taking small steps backward. Council Elder Zixtarl, whom Alice recognized from video communications, approached. The elder resembled a tall, thin humanoid with pale blue skin and 7 fingers on each hand. "Commander Wright, welcome. We are honored by Earth's presence today." Alice stepped forward and bowed slightly, as briefed. "The honor is ours, Elder. Earth looks forward to peaceful exchange of knowledge and friendship." The formal greetings continued, with each member of the human delegation being introduced. The aliens remained polite but kept unusual distance from the humans. As they moved toward the ceremonial table for the signing of first contact protocols, Alice reached for her water bottle. The day's activities and nerves had left her throat dry. "I'm just going to have a drink," she told Mev Lorne quietly, remembering their instruction to inform before opening water containers. The protocol officer nodded but stepped back noticeably. Alice twisted the cap off her bottle and took a sip. When she lowered the bottle, she accidentally knocked it against the edge of the table. The bottle tipped, spilling about half a cup of water across the polished surface. The reaction was immediate and shocking. Alarms blared throughout the chamber. Aliens scattered in all directions, some emitting high-pitched sounds that might have been screams. Security officers deployed what looked like energy shields between the humans and the rest of the room. "Containment breach, hydro substance released," shouted someone over the station's communication system. Alice froze in confusion, the half-empty bottle still in her hand. I'm sorry. It's just water. Elder Zixtarl had backed against the far wall, face showing clear distress. Please do not approach the spill, Commander. Our cleanup team will handle this dangerous substance. Confused and concerned, Alice bent down to touch the puddle, thinking she might clean it with her sleeve. 3 aliens fainted on the spot. Others gasped or made clicking sounds of alarm. She touched it. The human directly contacted the hydro weapon, exclaimed a crystalline being, its structure flashing rapid colors. Frank stepped beside Alice, hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm. Stand down, everyone, this is a misunderstanding. A team of aliens in sealed suits rushed in, wielding devices that appeared to safely collect the spilled water into a containment unit, marked with warning symbols. The process took nearly 10 minutes, during which the humans stood in bewildered silence. When the area was declared hydro-free, Elder Zixtarl approached again, though keeping greater distance than before. Commander Wright, the Elder said, carefully, it appears we have much to discuss about biological differences. What you call water, the chemical H2O, is classified throughout Council space as a dangerous substance. Kevin Phillips stepped forward. Water, but it's essential for human life. We're made of approximately 60% water. The revelation caused another stir among the aliens. Several more stepped back. One small green being appeared to be recording the humans with an instrument. You claim your bodies contain this corrosive compound? Asked Zixtarl, voice filled with disbelief. Corrosive? Alice repeated. To us it's life-giving. We drink it daily. We bathe in it. Our planet is covered in it. The room fell completely silent. A planet? Covered in H2O? Whispered Mevlorn. And you drink it? Alice nodded slowly, beginning to understand the magnitude of the misunderstanding. Yes, and we need to drink it regularly to survive. Zixtarl turned to address the other council representatives. It appears our new friends have evolved under truly extraordinary conditions. To most galactic species, what humans call water is a powerful solvent capable of dissolving both organic and synthetic materials. It's strictly regulated as a Class 1 weapon. Alice exchanged looks with her team. Frank suppressed a smile. Kevin looked fascinated. So when I spilled my water, Alice began, you effectively deployed what we consider a dangerous weapon in the council chamber, finished Zixtarl, though we now understand it was unintentional. Alice raised her water bottle slightly. And when I drink this? To our perspective, said Zixtarl with what might have been the alien equivalent of amazement, you are consuming something that would kill most of us instantly. The human delegation stood in stunned silence as the implications became clear. Their first diplomatic mission had just become infinitely more complicated and interesting. Perhaps, Alice said finally, carefully capping her water bottle, we should restart our introductions. It seems humans are even more unusual than any of us realized. 3 months after first contact, Jack Nelson paced the conference room aboard the space station Nexus Prime. As Earth's chief diplomatic officer for alien relations, he had spent weeks trying to convince the Galactic Council that humans were not walking weapons. The latest message from the Vraxian Empire had just made his job much harder. They're accusing us of what? Asked Olivia Martinez, the team's lead scientist. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and she looked tired after long hours studying alien biology samples. Jack ran his hand through his graying hair. The Vraxians claim Earth is stockpiling hydro weapons for galactic domination. They're demanding inspections of all our oceans, lakes, and water treatment facilities. Olivia laughed, then realized Jack wasn't joking. They can't be serious. We've explained repeatedly that water is essential for our survival. The Vraxians don't care. They're a militaristic species from the Outer Rim. Their ambassador keeps pointing out that Earth's surface is 70% covered in what they consider a deadly weapon. Richard Garcia, another diplomat on Jack's team, entered the room looking pale. He sniffled and wiped his nose with a tissue. You still have that cold? Jack asked. Richard nodded miserably. Can't seem to shake it. The station doctor says human viruses don't respond to their medicines. Maybe you should rest today. The meeting with the Vraxian ambassador is going to be tense. I'll be fine, Richard insisted. I've been reading up on Vraxian culture. They respect strength. If I don't show up, they might see it as weakness. 2 hours later, the Earth delegation sat across from the Vraxian representatives in the council's main chamber. The Vraxians were tall, muscular beings with tough reddish skin that looked like bark. Their 4 eyes tracked every human movement, with clear suspicion. Ambassador Kovacs of the Vraxians stood at full height, nearly 7 feet tall. The Vraxian Empire demands that Earth surrender its hydro stockpiles for controlled disposal. Your species possesses enough of this corrosive material to destroy half the civilized worlds in this sector. Jack kept his voice calm. Ambassador, as we've explained, water isn't a weapon to us. It's necessary for our survival. Removing Earth's water would be genocide against humans. A convenient claim, Kovacs growled. Yet we have reports that humans can weaponize this substance at will, projecting it from their bodies. Jack looked confused. I don't understand what you mean. Before anyone could explain, Richard's cold got the better of him. He sneezed violently into his tissue. The reaction was immediate. The Vraxian delegation jumped to their feet, some drawing small weapons. Security fields activated around the room. Attack! Shouted one Vraxian. The human deployed hydro projectiles. Richard looked, horrified, realizing what had happened. When he sneezed, tiny water droplets had sprayed from his nose and mouth. It wasn't an attack, Jack said quickly, hands raised. It was an involuntary bodily function. Humans sometimes expel small amounts of moisture when ill. Elder Zixtarl, who had been observing the meeting, stepped forward. Ambassador Kovacs, please calm your delegation. We've been studying human biology. What you witnessed is called a sneeze, an automated response to clear irritants from their breathing passages. The Vraxians reluctantly returned to their seats but kept their distance from Richard. This proves our point, Kovacs insisted. Humans can weaponize this substance from their own bodies. They are walking hydro weapons. After the tense meeting ended with no resolution, Olivia pulled Jack and Richard aside. I need to show you something in the lab. In the research section of the station, Olivia displayed microscope images on a large screen. This is what happens when a small amount of human saliva or moisture contacts cells from most council species. The screen showed alien cells rapidly breaking down. When Richard sneezed, he released microscopic water droplets, Olivia explained. To the Vraxians, it looked like he was attacking them with a corrosive spray. This is bad, Jack said. No wonder they're scared of us. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. The station's AI announced, Alert! Vraxian ships have engaged hostilities against the human research outpost in Sector 7. All personnel to emergency stations. The 3 humans rushed to the command center, where Elder Zixtarl was communicating with both sides. The Vraxians claim your outpost is developing hydro weapons, Zixtarl told them as they arrived. Jack felt sick. That's a water purification research station. We're studying how to make water safe for both humans and water-sensitive species to coexist. On the main screen, they watched as 3 Vraxian warships surrounded the small Earth station. The station's commander, a calm woman named Karen Bell, appeared on the communication channel. Vraxian vessels, we are an unarmed research facility. Please cease aggressive actions and state your purpose. The Vraxian commander responded harshly. Surrender your hydro weapon development facility or we will destroy it. Karen looked confused. This is a water purification facility. We have no weapons. Your deception will not work. Our scans detect large quantities of H2O. Jack whispered to Zixtarl. Can you help us explain? They're going to attack innocent scientists. Before the Elder could respond, the lead Vraxian ship fired a warning shot that rocked the station. Karen's face showed determination rather than fear. She turned to someone off screen and said, Connect the emergency water lines to the exterior defense ports. Jack watched in horror. What is she doing? On screen, small ports opened on the exterior of the Earth station. Streams of water shot out into space, creating a defensive barrier between the station and the Vraxian ships. The Vraxian vessels immediately backed away, their commanders shouting in alarm. "They're deploying their hydro weapons, evasive action." One Vraxian ship trying to avoid the water crashed into another. A third came too close to a water stream. Where the liquid contacted the hull, the metal began to sizzle and dissolve. "Pull back," ordered the Vraxian commander. "All ships retreat." Within minutes, the Vraxian vessels had fled the area. Karen appeared back on screen, looking both relieved and concerned. "I'm sorry for using the water defensively," she told the watching council members. "But I couldn't let them destroy our station. The water harmlessly disperses in space. We didn't direct it at their ships." Elder Zixtarl turned to Jack. "It seems your people have demonstrated both the danger you pose and your restraint in using it." Olivia was busy on her tablet. The chemical composition of most Vraxian technology includes silicon-aluminum compounds that react strongly with water. Their ships literally start dissolving on contact. Jack sighed heavily. "We need to find a solution before this gets worse. The Vraxians will see this as proof that we're dangerous." "Perhaps," said Elder Zixtarl thoughtfully. "What they see as weapons, we must help them understand as simply part of who you are. The Council needs to reconsider how we classify humans." Jack nodded, watching as Karen's team used special tools to collect the floating water droplets, conserving their precious resource even after using it in defense. "Humans don't want to weaponize water," he said quietly. "We just want to live in peace. But we won't stand by while our people are attacked for simply being human." Lieutenant Daniel Price woke up with a pounding headache. His last memory was of the Vraxian attack on the research station. He had been helping evacuate scientists to the emergency pods when something hit him from behind. Now he found himself in a small, sealed room with transparent walls. The air felt dry, much drier than normal human comfort levels. He sat up slowly on what seemed to be a hard-sleeping platform. Looking down, he noticed his uniform had been replaced with a simple gray jumpsuit. His watch, communication device, and even his water bottle were gone. Beyond the transparent walls, Daniel could see Vraxian guards watching him. They stood well back from his cell, weapons ready. When they noticed he was awake, one left quickly. A few minutes later, a Vraxian in an elaborate uniform approached. Unlike the others, this one wore what looked like an environmental suit with extra protection around the face and hands. "Human prisoner," the Vraxian said through a translation device. "I am Commander Dravkor of the Vraxian Empire. You were captured during our righteous attack on your hydro weapon facility." Daniel stood up, trying to appear calm and dignified, despite his situation. "Lieutenant Daniel Price, United Earth Alliance. The facility you attacked was a water purification research station, not a weapons facility." Dravkor made a harsh sound that might have been laughter. "Your deception is useless. We know the true purpose of your hydro research." "Why am I being held? The Galactic Council has recognized Earth as a peaceful member. The Council is weak and foolish. They allow your kind to freely carry deadly substances throughout their territory. We Vraxians understand the true threat you pose." Daniel moved closer to the transparent wall, causing the Vraxian guards to raise their weapons. Dravkor stepped back quickly. "This containment cell is specially designed," Dravkor explained. "It will prevent you from deploying hydroweapons. The air is completely dry. Any moisture you release will be instantly absorbed by the walls." Daniel realized why his throat felt so parched. "I need water to survive. All humans do." "A convenient claim. We believe it is simply how you store your weapons internally." Daniel sighed. This was going to be difficult. "What do you want from me?" "Information. How does Earth produce so much of this deadly substance? How do humans resist its corrosive effects? What are your plans for using it against the Empire?" Before Daniel could answer, a small panel opened in the cell wall. A tray slid through containing something that looked like dried food cubes and a small cup of thick, greenish liquid. "Nutrients suitable for your biology, without any hydrogen oxide contamination," Dravkor explained. Daniel knew he needed to stay alive and alert. Though the food looked unappetizing, he took a small bite. It tasted like cardboard mixed with metal. Now explain how your species developed immunity to hydro substances, Dravkor demanded. Daniel thought carefully. We didn't develop immunity. Our entire evolution happened in water. Earth life began in oceans. Our bodies are designed to use water as a fundamental building block. The interrogation continued for hours. Daniel tried to explain basic human biology, but the Vraxians seemed unwilling or unable to understand. Their own biology was so different that the concept of water-based life seemed impossible to them. During a break in questioning, Daniel accidentally bit his lip. A small drop of blood appeared. One of the guards noticed and made an alarming sound. The prisoner is leaking hydroweapon, the guard shouted. Dravkor rushed forward, then stopped at a safe distance. What is this red substance? Daniel touched his lip. It's blood. All humans have it. It carries oxygen through our bodies. Using the translation device, Dravkor spoke rapidly to a science officer who had been called to the room. The officer used a device to scan Daniel from a distance. Commander, the science officer reported, scans confirm the red substance contains over 80% water. The Vraxians moved further away from the cell. Dravkor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, in what Daniel guessed was shock or fear. Your entire circulatory system carries this corrosive? Throughout your body? Daniel nodded. Yes, without it I would die within minutes. This revelation caused a major stir among the Vraxians. They huddled in discussion for several minutes, before Dravkor returned. You will be transferred to our main research facility for further study. Back on Earth, Admiral William Rogers sat in a crisis meeting with Earth's top scientists and military leaders. The capture of Lieutenant Price and the continued Vraxian threats had pushed tensions to the breaking point. The Vraxians have refused all diplomatic contact, reported a communications officer. They're calling for other species to join them in quarantining humanity. Linda Harris, a brilliant scientist with short blonde hair and intense focus, stood up. Admiral, I believe I've made a breakthrough in understanding why water affects these species so drastically. She displayed molecular diagrams on the large screen. Most council species evolved on planets where water exists primarily in ice form, or bound to other elements. Their biochemistry uses silicon-based compounds or ammonia as solvents rather than water. Linda pointed to cellular images. When liquid water contacts their cellular structures, it causes rapid breakdown. It's not just corrosive to their technology, it's literally toxic to their biology. So we're poisonous to them just by existing, Admiral Rogers said grimly. Essentially, yes. But this also means their fear is based on real biological danger, not just misunderstanding. Susan Taylor, a marine biologist who had been studying how Earth sea creatures might compare to alien physiology, spoke up. There might be a way to use this knowledge defensively without causing harm. Some marine animals on Earth create barriers or deterrents without causing permanent damage to predators. Admiral Rogers nodded thoughtfully. We need a specialized team to develop protocols for this situation, not weapons, defensive measures that show restraint. I volunteer to lead the science division, Linda said, and I'll handle the biological applications, Susan added. Good, said the Admiral. We'll call it Blue Team. Find me solutions that protect our people without starting a war. As they left the meeting, an intelligence officer rushed in with a tablet. Admiral, we've intercepted Vraxian communications. They're planning to transfer Lieutenant Price to their main research facility in the Rigel system. For what purpose? The intelligence officer looked troubled. Based on the partial translations, they want to determine how to neutralize water within human bodies without killing the subject immediately. They're looking for ways to dehydrate us as a species. Admiral. Rogers stood up, his expression grim. Then we have 2 missions now. Develop defensive protocols and rescue our man before the Vraxians turn him into a laboratory experiment. He looked at the Earth displayed on the wall screen, with its beautiful blue oceans that had nurtured human life for millions of years. The same oceans that alien species now viewed as planet-sized weapons. We don't want a war, he said quietly. But we won't let anyone threaten our existence because of what we're made of. Assemble Blue Team immediately. and prepare a rescue. Operation for Lieutenant Price. A message appeared on screens across Earth and human colonies. The face of the Vraxian leader, Supreme Commander Krell, filled the display. His reddish bark-like skin looked darker than other Vraxians, a sign of age and status. All four of his eyes stared directly at the camera. "People of Earth," he began, voice translated to English. "The Vraxian Empire has shown patience while your kind spreads dangerous hydro substances throughout Council space. That patience is now ended. You will surrender all water resources for controlled disposal within 7 standard days, or face the might of our armada." The message ended abruptly. In the Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral Rogers watched the faces of world leaders on his conference screen. "They can't be serious," said the European Union President. "Surrendering our water is impossible." "They are serious," Admiral Rogers replied. "Vraxian culture values strength above all. They see our water as both a threat and a sign of weakness they can exploit." "What are our defensive options?" asked the African Coalition representative. "The Vraxians outnumber our fleet 5-1, Admiral Rogers admitted. But Blue Team has developed some promising strategies. He connected the call to the Blue Team laboratory. Engineer Joseph Wilson appeared on screen. Behind him, teams of scientists and military personnel worked on various projects. "Show them what we've developed, Joseph," Rogers ordered. Joseph held up what looked like a modified fire hose nozzle. "We've created water delivery systems that can project a fine mist, or solid stream depending on the situation. The water particles are suspended in a magnetic field that prevents them from dispersing in space." Marine specialist Patricia Grant stepped into view. "We've studied Earth's sea creatures for inspiration. Some use water jets as defense without causing permanent harm. Our goal is to create barriers, not casualties." "Will that be enough against their armada?" asked the Asian Alliance leader. "We've studied the Vraxian ship designs," Joseph explained. "Their hulls begin to break down on contact with water, but they can be repaired if exposure is brief. We're not looking to destroy their ships, just convince them to retreat," Patricia added. "We've also developed protective suits for Lieutenant Price's rescue. The suits contain concentrated water reserves that can be released as a defensive measure, if needed." The following day, Earth received disturbing news. The Vraxians had begun moving their armada toward the Sol system. Even more concerning, several of the Galactic Council's species had declared neutrality, unwilling to stand against the Vraxian Empire. Elder Zixtarl spoke with Admiral Rogers via secure channel. "I regret that the Council cannot officially intervene," Zixtarl said. "Many species secretly fear humans' natural hydro capabilities. They worry you might someday use water against them." "We've never threatened anyone," Rogers protested. "Not intentionally, but your very biology is threatening to them. Consider this. How would humans feel if a species evolved with natural radiation or acid in their bodies?" Rogers had no good answer. "We need more time to prove we're not a threat." "Time is what you lack," Zixtarl replied. "The Vraxian armada will reach Earth in 3 days." As Earth prepared for battle, Blue Team worked around the clock. Joseph tested the water cannons on modified spacecraft, while Patricia trained crews to deploy water barriers rather than lethal force. "Remember," she told the pilots, "our goal is to demonstrate defensive capability without causing unnecessary casualties." The rescue team for Lieutenant Price prepared separately. Their mission was to infiltrate the Vraxian research vessel before it reached the main battle. On the 3rd day, Earth's defense fleets took position near the orbit of Mars. The Vraxian armada appeared at the edge of the system, nearly 200 warships against Earth's 40 vessels. Commander Dravkor's voice came over the communication channel. "This is your final warning. Surrender your hydro resources or be destroyed." Admiral Rogers stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Atlantic. "We will not surrender the substance essential to our survival. We seek peaceful coexistence, not conflict." "Then you choose destruction," Dravkor replied. The first wave of Vraxian fighters advanced. Earth vessels held position, waiting until the enemy ships came within range. "Deploy water shields," Rogers ordered. From the Earth vessels, special projectors activated, creating walls of suspended water droplets in space, essentially creating water barriers between the approaching Vraxian ships and Earth's fleet. The Vraxian fighters slowed, clearly not expecting this defense. Several diverted course to avoid contact with the water barriers. "They're not attacking," reported a sensor officer. "They're trying to find gaps in our defense." One Vraxian cruiser, larger than the others, continued forward. Its commander's voice boomed over the communication channel. "Your water tricks will not stop us." The cruiser fired energy weapons at the water shield. The energy dissipated through the water particles, weakening, but not breaking the barrier. "Hold position," Rogers ordered. "Let them make the next move." The Vraxian cruiser accelerated suddenly, attempting to break through the water barrier. As it crashed through, water droplets contacted its hull. The effect was immediate. Where water touched, the hull material began to sizzle and decay. Alarms blared from the Vraxian vessel. It veered away, but damage had been done. Portions of its outer hull were dissolving from water contact. "All Vraxian vessels, hold position," Dravkor commanded. The attacking ships froze in space, watching as their lead cruiser struggled with the damage. What happened next surprised even Admiral Rogers. Earth's water recovery teams moved forward in specialized vessels. Wearing protective suits, they began collecting the floating water droplets that had been dispersed during the confrontation. "What are they doing?" Dravkor demanded. "Recovering our water," Rogers explained. "It's too precious to waste, even in defense." The Vraxian commanders watched in disbelief as humans in spacesuits carefully gathered water droplets and stored them in containers. "They're drinking their weapons?" a Vraxian officer asked in confusion. "Not weapons," Rogers corrected. "Just water. Essential to our lives, but never intended as weapons against you or anyone else." While the main fleet held the Vraxians' attention, the rescue team had reached the research vessel holding Lieutenant Price. Using minimal water charges to disable door mechanisms, they moved quickly through the ship. They found Price in a sealed laboratory, weakened from dehydration, but alive. The rescue team quickly gave him water and helped him into a protective suit. "The Vraxians were studying how my body processes water," Price explained as they moved toward their extraction point. "They can't understand how we survive with it inside us." As they reached their ship, alarms sounded throughout the Vraxian vessel. The team leader made a quick decision. "No casualties," she ordered. "Water barriers only to cover our escape." The team deployed small water dispensers that created walls of droplets between them and pursuing Vraxian soldiers. The Vraxians stopped immediately, unwilling to risk contact with the water. Back at the main battle line, Admiral Rogers received word of the successful rescue. He opened a channel to the entire Vraxian fleet. "Commander Dravkor, your research. Subject has been recovered. We have demonstrated our defensive capabilities without destroying a single Vraxian ship. We don't want war. We want understanding. Water is to us what air is to you. Essential for life." For long moments there was silence. Then Dravkor's voice came through. "This is not over, humans. The Empire will consult with our scientists about your unusual biology. We withdraw for now, but the Vraxian Empire does not forget." The Vraxian fleet slowly turned away, retreating from the Sol system. As they left, Earth's water recovery teams continued their work, carefully collecting every drop. "They're watching us," Rogers said quietly to his officers. "Make sure every recovery team treats that water with respect. Let them see we value it as life, not as a weapon." 2 weeks after the confrontation with the Vraxian fleet, Ambassador Nicole Harrison stood before the Galactic Council emergency session. The large circular chamber was packed with representatives from over 30 different species. Security measures had been increased, with special moisture barriers separating the human delegation from water-sensitive species. Nicole felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Earth had successfully defended itself, but the fundamental problem remained. To most galactic species, humans were walking biological hazards. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Harrison of Earth," announced Elder Zixtarl from the central podium. The Elder's blue skin looked paler than usual, a sign of stress among their species. Nicole stepped forward. At 45, she had decades of diplomatic experience, but nothing had prepared her for explaining to an interstellar community why her species shouldn't be quarantined or worse. Esteemed council members, she began, Earth thanks you for convening this session. The recent confrontation with the Vraxian Empire has made it clear that we must address the biological differences between humans and most council species. From a side entrance, Council biomechanist Trelvor approached the central display area. The small six-limbed alien carried a data tablet. Before the human ambassador continues, Trelvor announced, I must present my findings regarding human biology and council safety regulations. Nicole tensed. Trelvor was known for strict interpretation of council rules. The biomechanist displayed a series of diagrams showing human cellular structure, highlighted with warning symbols. My analysis confirms that human biology technically violates 17 different weapons conventions, Trelvor stated. The average human contains enough water to cause significant damage to most council species if direct contact occurs. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Nicole saw many representatives leaning away from the human section. However, Trelvor continued, surprising everyone. These violations cannot be classified as weapons under council law, as they are essential to human biology. Just as we do not classify Mavorian radiation or Talaxian methane respiration as weapons, despite their potential danger to other species. Nicole felt a small surge of hope. She hadn't expected support from the strict Trelvor. The council faces a unique situation, Elder Zixtarl said. No previous member species has presented such fundamental biological incompatibility with so many others. Nicole stepped forward again. If I may, I would like to propose a solution. She activated her own display, showing designs created by Earth scientists. We call it the Hydro Coexistence Protocol. It establishes safety measures that would allow humans to interact with water-vulnerable species while respecting our biological differences. The display showed modified environmental systems, specialized containment areas, and emergency response procedures. Humans can adapt our technology and practices to minimize risk, Nicole explained. We've already begun modifying our ships and stations with improved moisture barriers and specialized areas for different species. A Vraxian representative, not Dravkor but a lower-ranking official, spoke up. Words are meaningless. Humans still possess enough hydromaterial to threaten our existence. Nicole took a deep breath. This was the moment she had prepared for. She reached slowly into her pocket and removed a small, clear container. Inside was ordinary water. Several council members gasped. Security fields activated automatically. What I hold contains the substance you fear, Nicole said calmly. To you it is a dangerous material. To me it is life itself. With deliberate movements, she opened the container and lifted it to her lips. The chamber fell silent as she drank the water completely. We cannot change our biology, Nicole said after lowering the empty container. But we can demonstrate our commitment to peace. Humans have never used water as a weapon of first choice, even when attacked. During the recent confrontation, our ships created barriers rather than targeting Vraxian vessels directly. Elder Zixtarl seemed thoughtful. Your drinking display was both disturbing and compelling, Ambassador. It demonstrates the reality we must all accept. The debate continued for hours. Different species raised concerns, suggested modifications to the protocol, or offered scientific insights. Throughout it all, Nicole and her team patiently addressed each issue. Just as the council seemed ready to vote on accepting the Hydro Coexistence Protocol, alarms blared throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. Security breach in Level 4, announced the station's AI. Environmental systems compromised. Guards rushed into the chamber. Vraxian saboteurs have damaged the station's life support controls, reported the security chief. Multiple sections are losing atmosphere containment. Nicole looked at her team, then at Elder Zixtarl. We can help, she said firmly. How? Asked the elder. Our engineers understand water management better than anyone. Let us assist with emergency containment. After a moment's hesitation, Zixtarl nodded. Proceed. The human delegation moved quickly. Using their knowledge of fluid dynamics and emergency systems, they helped station engineers create temporary seals and reroute essential services. When reports came in of many water-vulnerable aliens trapped in a section with damaged environmental controls, Nicole made a difficult decision. We need to evacuate them to the human section, she told Zixtarl. Our area has the strongest moisture barriers, designed to keep our water from affecting others. But the human section would be uncomfortable for you, Zixtarl pointed out. The air is kept extremely dry for our comfort. We can handle discomfort, Nicole replied. They cannot handle exposure to our moisture. Within an hour, the human delegation had converted their quarters into emergency shelters for water-vulnerable species. Humans worked tirelessly, despite growing dehydration, to maintain safe conditions for the evacuees. When a small group of Vraxian diplomats was brought in, they seemed shocked to receive help from humans. Why would you assist us? Asked one Vraxian. We have threatened your world. Frank Miller, one of the human engineers, smiled despite his dry, cracked lips. Because that's what humans do. We help when we can. After the crisis was contained, the council reconvened. Evidence had been found linking the sabotage to a radical Vraxian faction opposed to any cooperation with humans. Elder Zixtarl addressed the chamber. Today we have witnessed both the danger of fear and the power of cooperation. The humans demonstrated that though their biology poses challenges, their values align with council principles. The vote was taken. By a significant majority, Earth was granted full council membership with special biological classification. The hydro-coexistence protocol became standard procedure throughout council space. As Nicole and her team prepared to return to Earth aboard the Horizon, she shared a toast of water with her crew. To peaceful coexistence, she said, raising her glass. Alice Wright, the commander who had first experienced the alien fear of water months ago, smiled. Who would have thought our greatest diplomatic tool would be something as simple as drinking water? Perhaps, Nicole replied thoughtfully. The lesson here is that understanding is always possible, even across the greatest differences. What seems dangerous can become a bridge when approached with respect and patience. As the Horizon departed from Nexus Prime, a new phrase began spreading through galactic communication channels. When describing how enemies became allies or how fears were overcome, species across the Council now use the expression, until humans drank them. It meant that something feared could become something understood, that differences, even fundamental ones, could be bridged through wisdom and patience rather than conflict. Earth had found its place among the stars, not by hiding what made humans different, but by showing how those differences could strengthen the galactic community instead of threatening it.